Hey guys, welcome to the Bearded Tog podcast. Super excited to have you with us today. We have a wonderful guest named Matt Borowick, who is an incredible drone photographer, documentarian photographer, PJ, photojournalist guy. Like, he's done it all. He's got a really fascinating journey of going from point to point to where he is now. Just a super great guy, influenced my photography a lot early on, and just a really fun guy to talk to, very nitty gritty into the drones and the rules, and we talk about Iceland, and just a really, really great guy. So definitely want you to listen to this episode. Before we get to that, I want to let you guys know about our workshop we're hosting in the Bearded Tog Facebook group for free on search engine optimization, or SEO. One of those things that you never want to know and you never want to care about, but if you do just a little bit, it can really help your business in massive ways. As we like to say over here at Mr. Photography, micro changes, macro results. So I think we got that from Caitlin James a long time ago. So come to the Facebook group, togfb.com, or you can just find us in Facebook, or you can go to the link in the show notes. Come join the Facebook group. It's free. There's no email. There's no sign up. There's nothing to pay for. Nothing like that. Come watch the workshop live and learn some SEO. It's going to be really, really, really level one. Like, if you know nothing, that's where we're going to teach, okay? And it might fill in some gaps if you already know a little bit of something. So come hang out in the Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. Without any further ado, here's my great friend, Matt Borowick. Matt, so I want to know, since you're pretty new to the Bearded Tog podcast, I want to know, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Wow. Okay, so this is interesting. For the longest time, it was coffee and or mint, but I was super weird. Like, the mint is a little different. The coffee, I would actually melt it down into a soup form. It was pretty messed up. Oh yeah. Also, should I not curse, or should I? I don't want to
curse as much as you would like, man.
Okay, so I'm fucking weird. And for some reason, like when I was a kid, I loved coffee ice cream, but I would have to melt it. I think it was because my teeth were super sensitive to cold, and so that was like the easiest way. So I'd make soup out of it. But as I got older, my teeth were less sensitive, and I could handle cold. And two things happened. I couldn't drink coffee anymore because my stomach couldn't handle the acid, which is weird. And then ice cream in general, I'm lactose intolerant, so that just kind of killed the whole ice cream game for me. There are plenty of vegan options now, which is totally cool. So if I had to answer that right now, I'd say my favorite is mint chocolate chip.
Okay, but like vegan mint and chocolate chip.
Yeah, so there's like a few. There's two companies. There's Van Leeuwen's and Oatly.
Oh yeah, Oatly makes really good milk, as far as I know.
Yeah. No, their milk is awesome, and they make vegan ice cream. I mean, they make oat ice cream, and it's delicious.
That's incredible. I'm gonna have to try that now. I'm gonna literally add that to a list right now.
Well, what's funny about that too is that I actually, so for anybody listening, when I was living in Iceland a few years ago, they have so much branding from Scandinavia. So Oatly is actually a Swedish brand.
Yeah.
And we found it, and this is the first time we found vegan ice cream. It was like, I think vegan ice cream was on the horizon and started to get really popular. And so we tried it and just fell in love with it and could not get enough of it.
That's awesome.
That is why we stayed in Iceland, for the ice cream. That was not even ice cream. Obviously.
I love that. Well, dude, man, so good to have you on here. I like just breaking the ice cream, if you know what I'm saying. No, I'm sorry, that's terrible pun. But yeah, man, we've been buddies for a little while now, and just to recap this, the fun story, I remember, I want to say 2012 maybe, I volunteer to drive up the 3-hour drive from like South Philly to New York City to shoot, to volunteer to shoot whatever they want at this event called the Charity Water Ball. And for some odd freaking reason, they let the new guy, they said, hey, go do the red carpet or the yellow carpet or whatever they called it. And I was like, okay, sure, yeah. And I had no idea what I was doing. And the super nice guy was like, hey, do you know what you're doing? And I was like, no, not at all. Please help me, save me. And that guy helped me out a lot and said, hey, here's what you want to do. Here's what's going to happen. Here's how you can kind of be more effective this evening. And it'll be fun. Break a leg, have fun. And I was like, and then you just left. And I was like, okay. And that night I proceeded to photograph like Seth Meyers and the cast of Friends. And, you know, it was terrifying. And then we became buddies. We shot other charity water events, and then we both are very fond. Separately, we never even got to talk about this other than on Instagram, but like both became very fond of Iceland, and you got to live there a little while with your now wife, which is awesome. And then we just interviewed yesterday, literally, Fair Waristi, and he photographed your guys' wedding. So, like, just really cool connections, man. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that at all, but tell me, fill in the gaps of that. Like, who are you? And you've been a lot different than when you first were back then. Like, now you're full-time drone, I feel like. And tell me about that journey a little bit, too.
So it's kind of crazy. Like, my journey has been literally all over the place. I went to college for photojournalism, and then got out, and that was in DC, and I came to New York, where it's kind of like going from a smaller ocean of photographers to the entire ocean in New York, but not having any real experience other than in a classroom. So when I got here, there was pretty much no work for someone like me. So I took the first job that came up, and it was being a red carpet / paparazzi photographer for a startup, I think website that doesn't even exist anymore. And it was somebody that I knew through someone else, and they were just sending us on random red carpet event stuff. And I really got to see the world that I would say most people hate. Just everybody has this idea of what a paparazzi is and what they do, and they're all kind of lopped into like one gigantic, terrible place. And I had very specific rules. Like, I would tell my editors when eventually I got to larger agencies versus the one that I started at, that I refused to do, stalking, being creepy, chasing people, normal human being things. And they only sent me to red carpet events and concerts. And honestly, that was great. And weren't you shooting a lot of concerts in DC way back when? Yeah.
So I went to school in Philly and then got kicked out. And because of my music background, like I played guitar and I toured in a band, I still had some connections. And so I would just go to shows and was able to bring my camera because I was like side stage rather than a pit guy. And it just kind of, both of us are very similar, like addictive personalities where like we want to be good at whatever we're doing. And just kept kind of chasing that down, and then did some festivals, and it was a fun ride. I miss it. I miss just being like around very loud, crazy things happening.
Yeah. And so it's funny, like those, I think concerts were actually my favorite because and you'd only stay for the first 3 songs, unfortunately, but they had rules.
Yeah.
As for the red carpet stuff, it's pretty mindless. It's exactly what you might think it is. You stand there, and when somebody important that you're supposed to photograph passes in front of you, you yell at them until they look at you. They won't necessarily smile or not smile, but they will look at you at some point, maybe. And you take a picture, and your picture looks exactly like everyone else's who's standing next to you.
Yeah.
Except I wasn't shooting for a big company like AP or Getty or Reuters or whatever, or any of the news organizations. I was photographing for like smaller agencies that were better across Europe, and the kind that when I would see my picture somewhere, they wouldn't actually credit my name. So it was really hard to find where my pictures were going. But I did that for a few years, and it just kind of burnt me out pretty bad. It started to actually it started making me resent photography. Because it was taking this one thing that I loved so much, the like passion for it, and then just washing it down with kind of just boring pictures. But that's all I was doing, and it's not like I was making any money either. I was hustling, and I was maybe covering rent, but that was pretty much it. You have to, like a lot of the work we do, it's connections. That's where you're going to make more money, or the money that you're going to make is from having better connections with better outlets for your images, kind of thing. And the where I was going with my stuff, it wasn't even like the quality of the images. It was what reach my agencies had, and the agencies that I was working for just didn't have as much as the bigger global markets, like Getty kind of stuff.
Sure.
And so after that, and I know this is like a long story about like how my life in photography went, but it kind of,
it's good.
It'll make more sense at the end. And so I went to ICP, which is the International Center of Photography, in New York. And that at that time I had already met you, I think, because I had done Charity Water already.
Okay.
And Charity Water time wise was, I think, like 2012.
Yeah, I think so.
And I was still like shooting events, doing random stuff, not doing photojournalism by any means, or documentary photography, or that stuff. And so I went to ICP, and the program that I did was an 8-month super intense program to get a certificate in photojournalism. It's hilarious actually how it worked, because I had a degree already, but I went back anyways. And it actually helped me to make a lot more connections in the field. But problem was, right after that, I kind of found myself in the same position from when I got out of college. Now, I wasn't willingly going to go back into paparazzi work because I don't want to repeat what I'd already done. It was a great experience, but I had no interest in it.
Right.
Plus, I didn't want to slowly resent photography again, given the opportunity. And a buddy of mine was about to start med school, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to go to Iceland with me?" And I was like, "You know what? Sure, fuck it." I see that it's a cool place. I'm seeing images, all like Instagram is starting to get really popular, and I don't know, when did you propose to your wife?
I should know this. 2016.
Okay, so you had already gone to Iceland. You had already proposed. I had seen your pictures, your drone stuff, if you had whatever. And because of that, and I think the Mavic had just come out, and I was like, because I was thinking about drones, and I was looking at the Phantoms. I'm like, is there something a little bit smaller but still decent quality? And the Mavic just dropped, so I bought that, and I went in February of 2017.
Okay. And
when I got back when I look back, I'm like, the work that I did there with the drone was very mediocre.
Yeah.
Comparatively to like the amount of times I've been there now and the amount of pictures I've taken.
Yeah.
Like I'm also judging myself in a very, very harsh way, but still, that's what we typically do.
Sure.
And when I got home, a lot of my photo friends saw that what I had done and asked if I would want to collaborate on different projects. And one of the people ended up making a documentary in Maine that I was part of. And now her film is about to show at Tribeca. And wow. I'm not sure what of my footage got into the film, but I'm seeing the film in a month, and I can update you then. But it's a cool, like, how the ball started to roll. And after that, I got my license. And then I just started to pick up random commercial jobs here and there. And then the Iceland stuff, it's a weird romantic story. Like, I like to think that it's romantic. Yeah. I'm not sure if Iceland feels this way. I mean, I think the Icelandic commerce and economy loves it. Because, as you know, Iceland is extremely expensive. So when you go, you have to spend money. If you're in there on a budget, it doesn't matter. Like, if you want to get around, you have to rent a car. Gas is really expensive. Food would equally be expensive, but there are ways to keep it reasonable or cheap, you could say. I mean, shit, they have a Costco there now, which is great for travelers to do, whatever. The gas thing, so Costco gas is also cheaper, which is kind of cool. Not insanely cheaper, but still better than paying, I think it's like $2.50 a liter.
Yeah, it's pricey for sure.
Right. And so now the stuff that I've been doing is a mix of, yes, I'm full-time drone, but also full-time just still photographer.
Yeah, just creative, whatever is needed.
Right, exactly. And then on the side, I'm trying to sell my work to anybody that likes pretty pictures on their walls.
Yeah, totally, right? I saw you the other day, this is time sensitive, but you were doing like a print sale. So I was like, oh yeah, of course, like he should be. That's awesome. What is, like, trying to think of that, one, your story is insane, and then two, paparazzi, I feel like you're probably the closest person we've even had to somebody who does that on the podcast before. Like, that's just a world we don't know, and I feel like most people listening to this are like, oh yeah, I would never do that. But also those people have never moved to New York and been like, oh shit, I need a job. So
yeah.
Is that, for that particular, before we get into drone stuff, like, is that really what it can be like, to where they're like, hey, your assignment is X person and you need to learn everything about them and follow them as much as they'll let you?
I mean, so I think that goes with a grain of salt. Because I never did that, the way that it worked with what I was doing was you would go to an event, there would be the PR person from the event would be there, and then your name, or not your name, but the company that you were shooting for's name would be on a piece of paper on the ground, lining up next to this rope. And the rope was, behind what is called the red carpet. And honestly, I think it must have been like 2 out of like the few hundred random openings or whatever that I shot. The carpet was actually red.
Yeah.
Which is something they don't tell you before. You just assume. And I mean, when they do the video interviews, you don't actually see the carpet often. And in the pictures, you don't think about it.
Right. No, 100%.
If you even see them.
Oh, that's so funny. Wait, it's like at Charity Water, they called it the yellow carpet because it was like yellow jerry cans or whatever behind it.
Right. I remember
like,
that.
You would just never know otherwise, unless you were, as Bane says, initiated.
Right. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, like, I'm also the only one I know that has ever done paparazzi either, other than the people that I met while we were doing it.
Sure.
Except for one person, and this is hilarious. One of the things that you would do, one of the concerts, they have the Today Show every morning, or every Friday morning. In the summer, they would have concerts.
Yeah.
And so most people that would go watch them would be tourists that would be like, oh my God, we have to do this. They'd wake up at 3 a.m. and go wait online to try to get into this thing that was open to the public, but they only let in the first, 200 or 300 people. And you'd stand, and then after you got in, you would still be outside near Rockefeller Plaza, and whoever was coming on would play 3 songs and then go do an interview, and you saw the 3 songs. And that was it. I'm like, if you lived in New York, even if you had never seen this, I don't think you would actually be interested in doing this. It's like going to Times Square during New Year's kind of thing.
Yeah.
We all see it from far away, but most of us don't actually want to go.
I don't know if you know this, so this is probably confession time as a guy who's not a New Yorker. So I've done the Times Square in New Year's Eve 5 times. Wow. And not for money. I literally paid to go.
Why? I mean, there's so many reasons why.
I don't know. Just love it. Literally, it was... I'm just like, I love like big and grand kind of things. And then I want to say the first time was probably that same year we did Charity Water, or maybe one of those years. And bro, it was literally my first date with a girl. I said, hey, what about us going to New York City and going for the ball drop? And you know what? Like, yeah, we don't even have to rent a hotel. We'll just walk around New York all night, and then we'll get back on the mega bus at 9:30 the next morning.
How was it? How'd that go?
It was awful.
I'm sure it was. The problem is also, like, you don't think about it before you go that, oh yeah, we can go, we could walk in, it'll be awesome, and then we could leave and it'll be totally whatever. The thing is, as I'm sure you know, you go in at some point and then you're stuck. You have to stay there. And if you leave, you can't get back in.
Yep.
You can't go to the bathroom. There's a whole bunch of things you can't do.
It's pretty restrictive.
Right. And so like as a New Yorker, I'm like, meh. Yeah. I mean, like you live in DC, like how often other than engagements or, stuff for work, do you go to the monuments?
Right. No, 100%. Yeah. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, especially now with coronavirus, I do not want to be there.
Right now, everything is just kind of on hold. Like how are things going for you?
Yeah. I wonder what things will be like. This episode will probably come out in like the next few weeks. So I'm like, as of yesterday, right, WHO declared it a pandemic, which in my research, which is, very low level, is both them categorizing it, but also them kind of saying to the countries who aren't doing enough, saying, hey, you guys should really, it's like another way for them to encourage the public. But we've had at this time, we've had a few postponed engagements, which is fine, low risk. And then I had one bride whose wedding is coming up soon, calling just to see like what's our policy. And luckily I had an answer, because I think the main thing is like, oh, do I have this in my contract? Do I have, how do I handle this? And what's the way, at least in my business, like I'm not trying to screw over any couples, right? Like I want to shoot their wedding. I said yes as well. And so for this couple, I basically said like, hey, as far as I know, and until the city says we can't, I'm fine with doing that. And then we've made arrangements to where like, I said, hey, I don't mind. I own a mask and I've been wearing it since January and everybody thought I was crazy. So I'm fine with wearing it at the wedding if you don't want anybody to get exposed. And, there's lots of people and, but right now, nothing has been crazy. But at the same time, like I was talking to Fair yesterday and he's already had one wedding cancellation, just for destination kind of stuff. And then they banned travel out of Europe yesterday. So, so I have no idea what it's going to look like. Hopefully, I don't know. It's going to be tough. And I think too, there's going to be a lot of like financial, cuts. Essentially, like wedding photographers will have to book either double the work for next year or be fine with weathering the storm of like, hey, you're probably going to make half of what you made last year because you're only going to get your deposits and never get your final payment. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. I have a lot of friends that are wedding photographers that are dealing with the same thing. But this, because this is still so new, it's kind of definitely up in the air.
Yeah, pun intended.
Most of what I do involves travel, and I can't travel. Right now, as obviously you just explained. Yeah. Like I was supposed to go to Coachella in a few weeks. But that got postponed and I will not be going now. And then after that, my cousin was getting married in Israel, but I don't know. It looks like that's probably not going to happen because of half the people not being able to get there. And then there's Israel, like a lot of places I'm sure in Europe are doing quarantine. So even if you go, like the chance of you even going outside of an indoor place seems impossible.
Yeah.
And then after that, my wife and I were going to do we haven't done our honeymoon yet. So we we're going to do like a little thing in Jordan because it's so close, but all the sites are closed because of Corona. So we're like, maybe not. And nobody's really sure how long this is going to last. I mean, I think we're just kind of in the beginning of it. So
yeah,
I'm not someone to guess because I literally know nothing. I read the news and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Right. That's where most of us are at,
Right. And the news is just, they're trying to figure out it from like professionals. And, then we have our president who doesn't really know anything. Yeah. So it's kind of a crapshoot. So, I mean, my question is, are we going to be in a scenario where it's like Italy, where the whole country is just shut down and you can't go outside? Like, we're not there yet, but are we going to get there?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be, we'll have a follow-up after this podcast.
Right. Right. We should probably not go on a way, way, way long tangent talking about that.
Yeah, 100%. Hey guys, hopping in here to tell you about Tave. Tave is the most advanced and customizable platform for managing photography businesses. It's what I use every day. I've been a client of theirs for years, and before Tave, I had to manage everything myself, from a calendar, invoices, quotes, proposals, payments, galleries, scheduling, all that stuff. And it was fine when I had, 5, 6, 10 clients. But now we manage over 60 clients a year. And as we build our team, we're going to be even set up to do more. And Tave is helping with that. which is really, really cool. One of my favorite features, guys, of Tave is the booking reports. So during this time when you're trying to track inquiries, where they come from, why didn't they book you, all the information you want to know about them, and Tave tracks all of that. And that way you can use that to make better decisions about your marketing, where to put your efforts, and how to best serve those clients in the future. I use Tave for years now, and it's changed my business forever. It'll work for wedding photographers, videographers, pilots, headshot gurus, boudoir people, whatever. Tave can work for you. The guys over there have hooked it up for Bearded Tog listeners. So normally they do a 30-day trial. That's if you're a chump. For Bearded Tog listeners, you get an extra 30 days. That's 2 months, 60 days total, where you can set it up, get your life back, and just have your ish together, people. So head over to thebeardedtog.com/Tave. Sign up, get your extra special 60-day free trial today. That's thebeardedtog.com/TAVE to try out Tave and get your life back today, guys. Thanks for Tave for sponsoring our show. Well, dude, with your drone stuff, I'm always curious, kind of like it's almost commonplace now for people with a Mavic or like the little Mavic Air or whatever to take it with them on vacation and just try to fly anywhere they possibly can. Basically, I bet most people not from DC or even a big city have never had their drone warn them and say, hey, you probably shouldn't fly here.
Oh yeah.
Like if they're just a consumer, like what, trying to think of the best way to ask this. Like what the hell are those people doing? No, I'm just kidding. No. How do you feel about those people and just like droning in general? And then what's the difference both like, as far as like professional ethics, and also, obviously like we've chatted a little bit before about, just you can go as large as you would like in the drone world and people have no idea, like eventually you just get to helicopter, I imagine. But
right.
Like for you, the quality difference between like something like an Inspire versus like something consumer level.
So starting off with the, people flying in other countries or even me flying in other countries, a lot of places have, like in Asia and parts of Europe, you actually aren't, even if it's non-commercial, you're not actually legally allowed to fly your drone anyways.
Yeah.
You have to, a lot of places require that you have a commercial license in that country to actually fly. China is weird. I've never flown in China. I went to China this summer and I had my drone with me, but I heard a lot of conflicting things and I just thought it was better that I don't fly. Mostly out of fear that the police would see me and question me and then just take away the drone.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot of different things and all of them were on like the cautionary side of it. Like, you can fly here and there, but if you don't speak Chinese and you don't have a Chinese cell phone, it's going to be a lot harder to explain, because you can get if you're just there for a little while, waivers, so you can fly, but you have to have a Chinese cell phone and then complete this registry in Chinese, like in Mandarin. And I just didn't have that. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just not today or while I was there. And honestly, that it didn't really. Maybe it would have made for some cool pictures here and there, but it didn't really affect what I was there for. What I would say to people that are traveling with their drones, and I do the same thing. If you are going to fly in a city, and that's different from New York or DC, and I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Respect their rules. Everybody pretty much has this very similar rules. Stay under 400 feet. Try not to fly over people. Don't fly at night. Do not fly near airports. I mean, there were so many stories over the summer, like news stories about people flying drones near Gatwick Airport. Like other than you can only get so many cool pictures. Plus if they do find you, you are fucked.
Yeah.
You are so fucked. Like, don't worry about them taking away your drone. You are going to jail. Yeah.
No, because I mean, worst case scenario, people think like, oh, I'm not hurting the planes. Like they also don't know that you're not a terrorist, like researching or scouting too. Like even non-drone people, like photographers used to shoot at airports. There are lots of signs and they don't like us there,
Yeah. They really don't like us. Plus, if you have a Mavic won't do anything to a jet turbine. A Phantom, I don't think so. An Inspire will.
Yeah.
I think the way they test those is they throw a frozen chicken or turkey into it to see if something will happen. Just because that's like pretty. It's like
low
throwing
risk.
a stone in, basically.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem with that is like, okay, yes, I can't fly as high as they're going. They're taking off. They're going really fast. It probably won't hurt the plane, but if it does, there's a chance that you'll kill a whole bunch of people.
Basically, the worst situation ever.
They will treat that as a terrorism act.
Yeah.
You won't just go to jail, but you are you are fucked. And so like, obviously airports just don't do that. Flying at night is really, you can get waivers for it and you can do it. I wouldn't recommend doing it on your own because it's extremely dangerous. Not only maybe you'll lose it, the GPS might cut out and you don't know where it is. You go behind a building, you'll just lose reception anyways.
Yeah, you can't see it.
You can't see it. So it's really just like safety concerns.
That's amazing.
Pretty much. And to be fair, like maybe I shouldn't say this on a live or like
public thing.
On a public thing, but like I haven't met any drone operator that hasn't like pushed the limit or pushed like the boundaries of what the law says, because there's still a lot of gray area. And what you are allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. The FAA, unless they've updated something very recently, a lot of cities like New York, DC is a different problem entirely because of the president. And
sure.
New York is also in a current problem with that. Flying within 3 miles of Trump Tower is permanently off limits.
Oh, interesting.
Which is a huge chunk of property. That's a lot of space.
Yeah.
DC, obviously, it makes sense why you can't fly there. The airport is so like Reagan is so close to the city, but also you have the White House and just so many security risks. There are a lot. I don't know anybody that actually flies in DC because it's more of a they will find you and come get you scenario versus in New York where, yeah, maybe they'll find you at some point. There are people that fly in New York and that aren't commercially licensed to do it.
Yeah.
And while they make pretty pictures of the city and, this or that, I think it's a bad idea. And not just because maybe they're going to get into an accident and something will happen or they got arrested, but it makes it harder for all those people that are actually following the law to get waivers to do it.
Yeah.
And right now the FAA, in some places, I think they're trying it out in smaller cities where they have a 24-hour waiver application where they'll get back to you in 24 hours.
Sure. So it can come through
Whereas
quick.
The alternative is they say they'll get back to you sometime within 3 months, which I'm sure you can, relate to this. 3 months is a long time outside of the wedding world or even maybe the engagement world. That's a long time before you get to a job that you might, like most jobs in my business, like, or an hour like world, you get it a few weeks before, maybe. And you have to prove to the FAA that your flight is safe. It's all safety.
Yeah.
And you have to come up with an extreme, like worst case scenario and how you're safe in that situation. And if they don't like deem your project safe, they either say no, or what's easier is they wait till your project has passed and then tell you that because it has already passed, they're going to just say no.
Yeah, exactly. Like they kind of are able to catch you.
Right. I'm like, what? Like, how is that even? It's so incredibly frustrating and bureaucratic. So there's no way to win. But I hear that they're trying out this 24-hour system where if you're flying under a certain altitude and maybe not over people, that they'll tell you. And a lot of the work that can be done in New York in the city doesn't necessarily have to be over people.
Yeah.
And can be under their height limit. Also, and this is from one drone pilot to another. Have you ever had any of your drones crash into trees or I don't know, anything really?
Yeah, 100%.
Great. So I think, and I heard this from someone else, you're not a professional drone pilot until you've crashed your drone into something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we talked about that one time because I was like, hey, is it bad if I crash? And you told me that. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, everybody's going to crash. Like, it's a thing.
Right. It's inevitable. And these are still like machines that we're putting up into the sky, and we have no control over them other than what we think that our stick motions are doing.
Yeah. No, totally. 100%. I want to ask you two things. I'll do the first one. It's a big thing. If you follow kind of like Iceland and photography and drone stuff and Chris Picard, kind of like there's other people that do it, obviously, but I feel like he's, popularized, obviously lots of Iceland, but then this particular part of the like glacial rivers and those kind of photos. I'm curious though, for you from a drone guy, like as somebody who's literally never flown or seen over those, like, do they actually look like that? Or is that a slow shutter? Like, what makes those particular, and I'll leave a link to one in the show notes of Matt's photos of like what makes those look so smooth, or is it a different post processing than maybe you would for still? Because it just doesn't look real. And I just say that about Iceland all the time, like, but as guys who've been there a lot, that's the one thing where I'm still like, I have no idea how this works.
Okay, so
I'll text you one real quick. I love from Hosovic.
So it's funny, that question actually comes up a lot. And the best that I can explain it.
Go for it, whatever you want. I'm going to send you another one too, because I'm like, how does this even look like this? Like what in the world?
Right. I mean, there's a few.
Give me the secrets, Matt. I want the secret. I'm just kidding. But for
real.
Secrets,
well, that's just the craziest part. Like, there are no secrets. It just fucking looks like that. It's crazy. I'll send you. I'll just do it now. Basically, if you look at, the best way to explain it is go to Google Earth or Google Maps, and I'll send you a picture of my Iceland. It's so funny on maps where you have stars and stuff.
Okay. What the frick? We're doing this live. I'm putting this on the podcast. We just have this all in
Fantastic.
Here. I don't even care.
I love it. All right. So I'm going to go to where I took that first picture. And I'm going to zoom in on, where's that thing? Okay. So I'm going to zoom in on the map. What am I talking? On the Google Maps, and I'm going to take a screenshot and I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
Because the colors are a little different, and because of
Google's cameras versus
right. These are two spots that are my favorite in Iceland. Whenever I go back, I like to go to them. The colors are real. I'm not manipulating anything. That's exactly how they look. Of course, when you edit pictures, you're going to work with like the, shutters. I mean, not the shutters, the contrast. Sure. So maybe it's going to be a little bit exaggerated, but it definitely looks like that. And it is wild. And they have them in other places. They have in New Zealand. They have in parts of Germany, or like in like Bavaria. And it is, I don't know how to explain it in a better way. Like, it's real. And there's nothing I did to fake it. And this isn't a post-processing thing. This is fucking how it looks. And it blows your mind. It blew my mind.
That's cool.
And for anybody that goes to Iceland, and like Chris was the reason that I took a workshop with him.
Okay.
And he actually gave me the name of the pilot that he flies with.
Yeah. Is that Volcano Pilot?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
And he's not like this random guy that nobody can fly with, but only like friends with can fly. Like, I've recommended people to fly with him all the time.
Yeah.
The first time I flew with him, he's a photographer first. That's like he's like some sort of business consultant as like his main job.
Sure.
But he has a plane and he loves to fly it, and he's also a photographer.
Yeah.
as you could see from following him on Instagram. Um, and he knows what kind of shots you're looking for. He knows where to go. And he's just like overall a great guy. I've flown with him 3 times now. And the picture that you saw on my wall was one of Chris's.
Yeah.
And when I bought that, I met Chris at an event, and he was like, yeah, I'll give you the name of, like, I was like, where is this? Like, is this like, what is this? Where is it? And he didn't show me where it was on the map.
Yeah.
But he gave me Volcano Palette's name and like phone number and email. And he's like, I'll give you one better. I'll give you the guy that took me there, and he could take you there.
That's awesome.
Because it's not really like, there's a few things like people like Chris. I would like to think that maybe at some point in my life, I'll be in like the level that he is
sure
in like the photography travel adventure world. But right now I'm not anywhere. I'm not a threat to him. So there's no reason for him not to share these things.
Totally. 100%.
And so he gave, did you get those pictures, by the way?
Yeah, dude, they look insane.
Right. So obviously it's a little different, and part of the Husavik picture, I couldn't, the satellite image was not that good.
Yeah, totally.
So, but you could see where that idea comes from. It's just what it looks like from above. It's just like the different colors of sediment.
Yeah.
And you could read, I can't explain it correctly, but there is reasoning and there's like scientific explanations for why they are the colors that they are. And it's all glacial runoff and a lot of colors. The yellow, I have no idea where that comes from.
Yeah.
But it's all like volcanic. So there's different volcanic colors. And then there's water mixing in from like fresh water to salt water into the ocean. And it's just all these different combinations that make the pictures what they are.
I love it, dude. You make me want to go back. I'm like, can we go when Iceland's not a part of Europe?
Right. Like, why UK is an island. Like, Iceland is an island.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
I agree.
Would they let us back in is my question.
I think that's the biggest problem. I feel like you'd have to fly to Canada and then drive over the border, or maybe fly over. I think they would. It's a little
dicey.
Yeah, right.
That could be a fun
trip.
trip.
Did you get the other picture though from like where all the stars are and stuff?
Yeah. All your Google Maps stuff.
Right. It's a little insane, but it's all like a mix of restaurants, bars that I like, places that I've started because there's no name for them. And I know that you know this because Iceland, a lot of the places don't have names.
Yeah.
And a lot of the roads, there's no way you can give the longitude and latitude because that's just easier than trying to explain what it is or where it is.
Yeah. Oh, so good, man. Oh, so awesome. Yeah. What is it like? What's the kind of difference between, like a Mavic? I mean, I feel like I know the answer, but I want to hear from you. Like the...
Oh, right. Sorry, the quality?
Yeah. From a Mavic to, an Inspire to what's bigger than an Inspire kind of level?
Matrice. I think that's how you say it. Or mattress. Matrice. MATRICE. I think that's how you spell it. Matrice.
Okay.
That has typically 6 propellers. And that'll be the type of thing that holds like your DSLRs or Reds.
Yeah.
Or your much bigger cameras. And so obviously the quality when you get to that level is just insane. If you put a Red on a drone and you want to compare it to anything else, I'm not sure there is like anything smaller.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's just an insane quality.
Right.
But within the consumer friendly market, I think, even for non-professionals, an Inspire is still could be used as an expensive hobby, but you're not running into the same price level of getting something larger with putting a DSLR or a video camera on the drone itself. As for the Mavic, versus the Phantom. I think still the Phantom has some more capabilities of resolution against the Mavic. But for travel reasons and like how small the Mavic gets, especially the Mavic 2, the two different options, the Hasselblad one and the dolly zoom, they're both great at different things. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say the Hasselblad because I'm more likely to use it as a still camera and the video features more than I am the dolly zoom factor.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have a zoom.
And they are great. Like, right, that's what it's called, the zoom. They are great and they do a lot of awesome things. And I think their still images are still really big. Because they are supposed to have like this, some sort of like
1-inch sensor or something. Yeah.
Something about it, like, makes up for what. Oh, God, hold on. Sorry. The microphone fell over. My phone was holding it down and then. Because it's so heavy, it like leans off to one side.
It needs proper balance.
Right. So my experience, I have a Phantom, and if you know anybody that wants to buy an Obsidian Phantom, let me know. I have one for sale.
$300. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I'll do it cheaper than B&H, but B&H has this like buyback system, but they just give you crap for it.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyways, I mostly shoot when I go on vacation or trips where, I'm looking to stay light, the Mavics.
Yeah.
And then the Inspire is more specifically for jobs. The Zenmuse X7 is a Super 35 sensor.
Okay.
Versus the X5S, which was a 3/4 sensor.
Okay. Yeah, like micro 4/3 kind of.
Yeah, right. Sorry, that 3/4, 4/3. Yeah. Yes, what you just said. And so they have a set of lenses that are super sharp, and they've got a 16, 24, 35, and 50. And so the resolutions the largest resolution you can do is, I think it's like 35 by 56, 100 pixels.
Oh, wow.
Which is supposed to be their shooting in RAW at 6K.
Okay, nice.
Which is gigantic.
Yeah, that seems big to me.
Right. Yeah. And the way it works, and this is, I'm sure you know this already, but I didn't. And it just kind of goes to show how you just learn things while you're doing it.
Yeah.
But when they say, like, when you run something at 24 frames per second, when you shoot it in 6K, it doesn't compress it into a raw video format. It literally takes 24 15 megabyte pictures.
Yeah.
Every second. So when you have a 20-minute long video clip, it's like, I don't know, 400 gigs of data.
Wow.
Which is crazy. And so you can shoot all you want. Or like when I get a client who's like, I want to shoot everything in RAW. I'm like, great, we can totally do that. But first, I'm going to need you to pay an upfront cost that's going to cover me to buy
hard drives,
more hard drives, more disk space. I mean, the Inspire actually has to work with 2 memory cards at the same time because you don't have to use both of them, but you need both of them in for the drone to work.
Wow.
One is a micro SD card, and then one is a solid state. I think it comes in 112, 240, and 480 gigs. And so the RAW is written to the solid state. And then the micro SD card gets all the pictures, and you can also simultaneously, while you're doing 6K, you can do 4K.
Oh, wow. That's super
at the same time, so that you could show, if you don't have time to transfer the 6K, you're like, oh, well, here's the micro SD card with all the 4K that we just shot.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Hey, folks, going to come in here and thank our second sponsor. It is Photo with Supply Co. You guys know Photo with Supply Co. They've been a photo booth company based in California for years. Their sole goal is to help us make more money. They help me make more money. And the cool part about it, guys, and we'll get this to the end of the ad, is it's not expensive or overwhelming. Photo booths used to cost so much, and Photo Booth Supply Co. made it really affordable and achievable to buy a photo booth and start running a photo booth business today, or having it as an addition to your wedding photography. I have their new booth. It's called the Salsa, which I love because I like chips, and it's leveled up my business for sure. I chose the Salsa because it fits my brand. So there's no printers, papers, backdrops, boas, Viking helmets, stupid signs that say I'm with stupid. Hopefully people don't do that anymore. I'm just not into any of that stuff. I'm into luxury and slick looking stuff. Salsa is that. It's digital only, selfie style, eco-friendly. It's all in one. You guys don't even need to bring an attendant. Like, get out of here bringing people with you for your photo booth. It takes 60 seconds to set up. You can set it up during cocktail hour, and the booth runs itself. It's light enough that you can put it in the back of your trunk or in an Uber. You can even travel with it. I think it's about 36, 38 pounds. It's about the same size as my camera case. Easy to bring with you. So much fun. My favorite part of Salsa is that even at a wedding or event, while it's generating revenue for us, it also does marketing for me. So every photo, boomerang, or GIF it takes, it's already asking for a phone number or an email. So I can make that and add that to my email list. I can send out phone blasts. I can send out text messages. And what's really cool is that even when they just get their photo, like no risk to them, it has my Instagram in them. So if they're engaged or they're looking for a photographer at that time, I'm already ahead of the game and they're already thinking about me. I'm top of mind. So it's really, really cool. Salsa makes it easy too because they have pre-made text and email templates with all your contact info in there. And by the time I leave weddings, sometimes I'll have leads, which is really cool. Salsa's super affordable, guys, and they have payment plans, so you don't have to save up to start making more money. You can start today. Head over to thebeardedtog.com/booth to get your Salsa photo booth and start making more money on every wedding today. That's thebeardedtog.com/BOOTH. Big thanks to the Photo Booth Supply Co. folks for sponsoring our show. Now back to the episode. What kind of clientele do you have being a drone pilot? Will it be kind of similar to like a DP, so you have like a day rate, or you'll shoot like a commercial gig, or what's that look like for you?
So mine are either day rates for, your one day shoots, or if you have me on for a longer project, obviously we'll negotiate something else. But in the past few years, I've had a mix. It's been this one annual job that I really like a lot is a nonprofit bike ride that is held to combat AIDS.
Okay, that's cool.
And it's a bike ride from Boston to New York. Nice. Over the course of 3 days. And there's a production team that's responsible for all like the video, photo, drone. They make highlight reels every day. They handle all of the like social media posting. And that is actually I think it's the most fun because it's really fast. There's no real like guidelines for me anyways. The whole video team does their own thing. And for me, at least the first time, like, guys, if you give me any sort of direction, that'd be super helpful, just so I know kind of what to look for while I'm out. Cause when that job's happening, I'm on my own. I'm in my own car getting footage and then meeting them every, 3 hours and just dropping data, like dropping car drops basically.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because I've done this a few years in a row with the same crew. And the first year, and every year I go back to this because I think it's just hilarious. The first year I met with the guys the night before, and I was like, "What can you give me some like pointers of like what to do along the course, like what to get?" And they said the main guy was like, "Just get awesome shit." And I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to be too difficult, since I have no idea what to look for. But as it turns out, anything from the air, I think we're still very new at seeing drone footage. And I say that because we see it in movies with helicopters and, we're not that, it's not that we're not used to seeing it, but I think because drones can fly through in smaller spaces and their perspective is still like very new and seeing it in your like daily life.
Yeah.
It's still a video from above following someone can be mediocre, or given the right people or people controlling it or what's in the frame can be really fucking cool to see.
Yeah.
And I think the first year I did it was the first year they had drones at all. So
you got to set the standard.
right. Right. And I went out and I did what I did and they loved it. And it was really cool because it was a new experience for me. I'd never followed bikers there was a few different times that we were going over bridges that were basically just the bridges were on ground level, but going over rivers. And I was following them, tracking them essentially, these bikers in this crazy landscape in like the mountains between, I don't know, whatever's between
New York and
Boston. They go through like backcountry roads and it's like really beautiful and you're tracking from above and you're doing follows and it's just like this different perspective that we're still like seeing. And every time we see it, we're like, this is awesome. Like I see plenty of footage, like drone footage that I'm like, that is amazing. Or racing drones.
Yeah. 100%.
Where they add bigger cameras to them. Like this is incredible.
That's cool.
And so that's one thing that I did. I worked on a project in Mexico with a much larger video team that was creating a commercial for one of the resorts down there.
Okay.
And I was a very, very small piece of the production.
Of a huge production. Yeah.
But it was, and I thought like I went down there with a little bit of an ego, like I'm the drone guy, like, you know, I'm cool. And it was cool. Like I had a second pilot with me that was like by my side the entire time. The video that we took really fit in well to the project, but it was still like heavily a movie production. It was a movie set. And it put things into perspective. And actually that flying on your own for your own reasons is awesome for clients that work in that direct, like with what they want. But I much prefer the idea of working as a huge team.
Yeah.
I think the idea of relying on others while they're relying on you is really nice. And it gives a lot more perspective when you have a lot of other people kind of giving you guidance. Like I know how to fly a drone. I know what I'm looking for, but if you are there if you're the director and you have a vision, it's going to help me out a lot more.
Totally. You need direction, you know?
Right. Otherwise we're just guessing.
Yeah. Like otherwise you're the guy, like when you go to Iceland, you have some direction, or at least you had some, right? Like I feel like now whenever I go back, I'm always like, what do I want to shoot? What do I want to do? And it's helpful to have a goal and be like, okay, yeah, like I want this. Or I remember I went one year with a photographer buddy of mine. It was my favorite trip, actually. Don't tell my wife. And, you know, it was, I was like, the goal is to see the Northern Lights. Like that's and to get a great, like badass photo of it.
And you did it. I saw that.
Yeah. I'd seen like little glimpses and, you know, trips before. And I was like, no, I want something that's like, there it is. And like, you know, it's just one of those things. It's chasing the dragon, right? What were you going to say? Go for it. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I remember who's the photographer that you went with?
Jabin Botsford, good buddy of mine.
Right. I know. I don't know him, but I know plenty of people who are friends with him through the photojournalism world.
Yeah, through the PJ world.
Right, and it's so funny because our world is so small. Like you live in DC, so you know DC people, but also there's a handful of photographers that I'm really close with that you also know because they're wedding photographers.
It works out. It works out for sure. I love it. I want to ask you one more question before we wrap up. A while back, and you did some like documentary storytelling coverage of either, and forgive me for not knowing the details, but I want them to come from you, of a family situation or hospital story kind of thing. Is that right? Like that was like probably what I think was like your most powerful work at that time, because it was so it seemed personal, but I don't know if you don't mind sharing. If you don't want to, we can cut and we can go to anything else.
Wait. It was still photography or was drone?
Still, I believe so.
Can you do you have any more? Can you think of any more details? I'm not sure what. Do you remember any of the characters? Not named, but like what they look like?
You're gonna laugh at me now. Maybe I thought that you and Nancy Borowick were related.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't okay. So Me and Nancy Borowick all related.
Okay.
And that wasn't my project. That was her project.
Oh, shit.
So
well, never mind.
I wasn't going to bring this up, but I can. This is a lot more personal. No. It's fine. And I think everybody should see her project. It was incredible. I feel
bad for bringing up a relative in her project. I didn't know.
No. It's actually kind of funny. In her project, and this is actually more funny than what I'm going to tell you after. So Nancy is my sister, and she did this project on our parents, who both were going through chemo at the same time. And they have since, my dad died from pancreatic cancer about 6 years ago. And then my mom died from what started as breast cancer, but then spread eventually about 5 years ago. And she did an incredible documentary project on it, on like them basically in kind of the same boat together. And then she actually made a book out of it too. And it was an incredible book. It's called The Family Imprint. And I'll send you a copy. I've got lots of copies. I'll send you a copy in a few days.
Okay.
And just sit down with, do you drink any bourbon or wine or anything?
I don't, sadly.
You don't drink? Oh, you don't drink?
Yeah, no.
Okay. So don't drink, but imagine that you would want to have like a glass of bourbon while you're reading this.
Sure.
It's super, dark is not the right word. It's not dark. It's light, but it's very heavy at the same time.
Sure. It's like somber. Like you need to have reverence while you're viewing the images.
Right. So Nancy was doing this project, and I'm in it a lot because we're related and it's a lot about family.
Yeah.
And she's shown this a few times. I actually went on a book tour with her in Europe because the publisher is a German company, because apparently a lot of the American publishing companies that she went to were like, this is too dark. Americans don't like dark things. This is never going to work. And so she went to a German publishing house that was all about this stuff, and they did a great job, and she went on tour, and then she came back to America, and people were like, from the American publishing side, they were like, why didn't you come to any like American publishers? She's like, I did. They didn't want it. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people who are on this tour were like, so this is amazing. You did this. How does it feel to have done this as an only child? And she's like, well, I'm not an only child. Like my brother is in the back right now taking pictures.
Yeah.
Like what? And so, yeah, no, I didn't have any, I shot here and there, but it was not part of her project. The pictures that I'm sure you're seeing are from her. I just publicized it a lot through social media.
Sure.
Trying to get the word out that she was doing this, or people should go follow it, or this or that. Or
that's cool.
The other thing. Actually, it was kind of crazy. Before I went to ICP, and right after I was like doing the paparazzi stuff, my dad was very sick, and I was really, really close to just being done with photography in general. I was depressed for a few reasons, but I think it was a lot because he was sick, and also photography wasn't fun because it was not because it was work, but because paparazzi made it not fun.
Yeah, totally.
And then I went to ICP because it gave me reason to stay sane, but also stay in New York, which was closer to my family. And then it turned out while I was at ICP, my dad died. So it was like we were 3 months in, and it was right before he died in early December. So it was right before like Christmas break, and that we would get a month off to start, like we had to do like a thesis project. And I came back after a month of, mourning, and the morning, like literally the morning that we were supposed to go back, we were supposed to come in with this idea of what we wanted to work on for the next 4 months as a thesis project. And I had nothing. And I was going to use like, well, I don't think people were expecting me to have anything considering what had happened in my life. Just like 3 weeks before, but I reverted to a project that I had started in college that I never finished. That was about basically, it was gun culture in America, and something that is super relevant now, and I'm sure will be very relevant in the next decade or as long as America is America. I did this. This is like the last long form documentary project I did as a documentary photographer, if I can call myself that anymore. And I went through and it was portraits of guys with their guns in different parts of America, representing who are the gun owners that are, between their ages of 18 and 30. Who is that makeup? And they go across the board. There's liberals, there's Democrats, or there's liberals, there's conservatives, there's people that love the NRA, there are people that hate the NRA, there are people that don't want restrictions, there are people that want more restrictions. It's kind of all over the map. And that's kind of what I wanted to show.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. But now my work is mostly beautiful scenery, a lot of Iceland, drone everything, and supporting my sister's project that had nothing to do with me.
I'm going to leave all this in here, and then I'm going to bring her on and see if we could do that. That's amazing. Is most of your work in Iceland, or is it going to be just, it's really hodgepodge right now? You don't know.
The landscapes are definitely Iceland heavy. Right now is kind of difficult, like this second, because I can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I've recently gotten very interested into astrophotography.
Okay.
We went to Death Valley a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been, if you're ever interested in seeing the stars, this is the place. I mean, they're called dark sky preserves.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Where you go and there's zero light pollution. And so what would it look like if, DC turned off all the lights kind of thing?
Yeah, no, totally.
It's crazy. Like, you don't have to think about like, where is the Milky Way? Oh, it's that thing over there. It is there.
Yeah.
Kind of like seeing the Northern Lights, where, as I'm sure I'm sure you've tried and did not see them, and then you saw them and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The camera obviously picks up a lot more than our eyes do.
Totally.
And now I've never seen the Northern Lights where they're green and red and, pink or whatever, but I've taken pictures, and through the pictures you can see the colors.
Yeah.
When I saw them, it looked like it was a weird silver cloud kind of dancing above me.
Yeah. Dude, we'll have to go back together. I feel like I got really lucky. So when I went with Jabin, it literally, we were in the car chatting because we were going, of course it's stormed, right? And it's snowing and things are crazy. And we're outside Kirktrafell, and him and I were just chatting, having like a deep, brother to brother chat, because we've been together for 4 days, right? And we're just, talking about all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And we're like, all right, well, we'll just sit this one out and see what happens, if the storm will stay, whatever. It's almost like the storm is too tough for us to sleep because we're sleeping in our car, of course. And it's like the weather finally calms down for a bit, and the sky opens up. And it legit, dude, the sky, it was 1 a.m. and the sky was blue. And like, it was very overwhelming compared to the first time I saw the Northern Lights. As like you said, it was like this waspy flickering thing. And we'll have to go, man. I literally, him and I could not stop laughing for an hour. It was like incredible, like overwhelming sense of emotion. Plus, making some awesome photos. And it was easier because they were actually brighter. I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I don't need ISO 3200 for this, which was insane. It was super cool, man. So we'll have to come back.
Definitely.
Well, dude, man, thanks for coming on. I want to know, where can people go to, find out more about you? How can people support you and buy his prints? Like where's the best place for people to go and check out and say hi?
Probably Instagram. I mean, you can go to my website. It's MatthewBorowick.com, or MattBorowick.com. I made sure to get both of them in case this situation ever were to happen and people are like, oh no, what am I supposed to do? I can't find his website.
Yeah, it's totally somebody else. It's like you should make a fake one for April Fools and just like the Matt Borowick is like you in a leotard or something. I don't know.
I should probably do that.
Just ought to be.
But I'd say Instagram is probably the best to see like what I'm up to, what I'm doing. Now, I should say that I'm in Iceland all the time and my Instagram is exactly representative of where I am all the time, but it's not.
Yeah.
I have this overwhelming sense of joy when people think that I'm in Iceland all the time, because that's where I post. But that's of what I post mostly.
Yeah.
But I think because I go there, I typically go there actually twice a year, which is kind of crazy. I just have so much backup like catalog
material. Yeah.
So much material.
That's awesome.
But I'd say Instagram, people are welcome to email me. I actually respond to a lot of people over Instagram with questions or, travel itineraries to Iceland specifically, just because I've already at this point written up anywhere between like, I have a 3-day layover in Iceland. Like, what should I do? Itinerary to, if you want to stay there for a month.
Yeah.
And I'm sure maybe, have you seen the Nat Geo stuff?
I've only seen what's on your Instagram as far as that, unless they correspond.
So I am a contributor to Nat Geo Travel.
Okay, awesome.
So if you go to their Instagram, every now and then you could see they'll publish one of my pictures.
That's awesome.
And I've gotten a lot of random things through that. Not like, well, I've gotten people buying some prints, but I get a lot of questions through that. A lot of the questions are, can I be your assistant?
Yeah.
Or how did you get to post with them? Which people just want to know, like, obviously some people are like, help me get to post on them. I try to tag them all the time and nothing ever happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't really, it's not like I posted and one day they were like, hey, come aboard. It was a whole nother to do, which I can tell you another time.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. If they're curious about Nat Geo photographers, you can listen to our episode of Amy Vitale and, do the work behind what she said.
Wait, you got Amy on?
Yeah. She was,
that's amazing.
Episode 94, man. Like a few episodes ago.
That's incredible. She is a legend.
Yeah, she's a juggernaut. I somehow, man, just through enough emailing and, I think it's easy for folks like her who are, jet setting all the time to be like, oh, I don't know, my schedule's kind of crazy. And I say, hey, I'll work with you. I'll call you at the airport. I'll come to the airport. What do you need? And like just knocking on the door. And she was so sweet. She was awesome. And now, I think we're going to try and have her back on probably in the future again, just probably like once a year if she's into it. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. Have you, I'm sure you're familiar with this picture. I call it Sexy Panda. There's a picture she took of a panda that's kind of on its butt with its arm to the side and it's kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
And because I don't know, I know there's probably another name, but I like to call it Sexy Panda. And it's probably it's probably my favorite all-time wildlife pictures. She is incredible. I mean, I've seen interviews with her. I've never met her, but she just seems like an incredible person. And she's amazing. Incredible is not even there's no better word that I could find, but incredible. She's an incredible photographer.
Yeah, she's great. She's so chill, which is,
right.
That's the best part. Is like, you can be great and also humble. That's a good recipe where
totally.
It's usually the opposite. But well, dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you. And it was fun catching up a little bit. And yeah, man, I hope to hear from you soon and see some more Iceland stuff. And we'll tell everybody to go check out your Instagram and say, hey.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Always so good checking up with my buddy, Matt. Love him. He's just, he influenced, a lot for me as early on as you heard in the episodes. So just really, really cool to have him on. So go say hi to him, Matt Borowick, on Instagram, and mutual lover of Iceland if you're into that. And have a wonderful day, guys. Thanks to our sponsors, Tave, Photo Booth Supply Co. Come to the Facebook group, check out our SEO workshop, and have a wonderful day, guys. Keep being awesome.